Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'd like to start with some background before we get into where we are today. In March, Congress passed the CARES Act, which set aside $13 million in coronavirus relief aid for K-12 schools. Upon it passing, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos was quick to apply her own discriminatory guidelines regarding how the funds should be distributed, drawing bipartisan criticism. DeVos's illegal guidance required public schools to send more relief aid to private and for-profit schools than Congress had intended. Despite the guidance drawing immediate controversy, lawsuits, and critique from numerous state superintendents of both parties across the country, Elsie Arntzen jumped at the opportunity to further her school privatization agenda and went ahead and distributed Montana's share according to DeVos's guidance. Fast forward to September 4th. A federal judge, predictably, ruled that Betsy DeVos's guidance was illegal and struck down the policy nationwide. This isn't a surprise, and Superintendent Arntzen should have been preparing for the rule reversal since she decided to ignore the controversy around the funding and forge ahead with the DeVos guidance. But Elsie didn't prepare, and there is no plan. At an Education Interim Committee meeting last month, one of Elsie's deputy superintendents reported that there was no plan to make public school budgets whole again. Montana's public schools are out $800,000 during the most challenging education environment in recent history because Elsie Arntzen did not plan ahead. She did not manage the office appropriately, and she once again failed to be a leader for our schools. It is appalling that in the middle of a global health crisis, Elsie Arntzen is diverting crucial public aid meant to keep school staff and children safe to private schools. This is our state superintendent, and her record confirms that she has always been eager to divert resources from public schools. As a state legislator, she voted to divert taxpayer dollars to private and for-profit schools every chance she got. As state superintendent, she has failed to show up to advocate for public schools and students, and continues to invest more time and energy in attending school privatization rallies and applauding budget proposals that would cut millions from Montana's public schools than advocating for them. Montanans deserve answers, and our schools deserve a plan. The headaches that this avoidable mess has created and will continue to create for school administrators across the state is an absolute embarrassment. I'm thankful that so many districts had the sense not to follow Elsie's directive, or in some cases were able to stop the flow of services to non-public schools before too much damage was done, both to their own student populations and to the relationships so many of our public schools have with the private schools in their communities. 85% of the funding that was earmarked for non-public schools in Great Falls had already gone out the door when the ruling came down in early September. When they did not receive direction from Elsie about how to proceed, Great Falls froze the services that hadn't been delivered yet, creating headaches, accounting nightmares, and unnecessary tension. Still, Elsie had no plan. Elsie Arntzen continues to show her true colors even in the midst of a pandemic. She can't bring herself to advocate for our public schools. I am calling on Elsie Arntzen to clean up the mess she created immediately and find a way to make our public schools whole again. Thank you. And with that, I'm happy to take questions if anyone has them that you'd like to ask me.